Most men misunderstand tests. They think a test is a challenge, a trap, something to outsmart. But it isn't. A test is a diagnostic, and it measures one thing: how a man holds himself when pressure enters the room. Not his words, not his explanations, rather, his emotional stability. So, what actually is a test? A test is not manipulation, and it's not disrespect. It is emotional pressure introduced on purpose. A woman creates friction to observe whether a man stays centered or whether he scrambles to regain approval. She's watching things such as his tone, his pace, his stillness, and his reaction. The truth is, the words he says barely matter. So, why do tests appear early? Tests show up early because uncertainty exposes the truth. Before attachment, before investment, and before intimacy. That's why it happens on first dates. For example, you're talking and energy is good. Then she says something such as, "You're not really my type." And this isn't rejection, it's pressure. If you explain yourself, you fail. If you ask why, you fail. A disciplined man simply says, "Fair enough," and continues the interaction normally. There's no pause, no tension, no self-correction. That response ends the test immediately. So, what is the core question being asked? Every test reduces to one question, and that question is, does this man have an internal center? If your emotional state shifts when hers does, you fail. If you seek reassurance, you fail. Attraction forms when a man remains regulated under uncertainty. Let's talk about disagreement tests. Disagreement is the most common early test. You pick a place and she says something such as, "This spot is kind of boring." This is not even about the restaurant. What she's really testing is whether you abandon your frame. If you say something like, "We can go somewhere else if you want," you collapse direction and you fail. If you argue, you signal insecurity and you fail. The way that a disciplined man responds is, "I like it," and then he keeps moving. Additionally, if natural, he can say something like, "You don't have to like it." Calm, no defense, no persuasion. He holds direction without force. There are also identity pressure tests. This is when she applies pressure to your identity. She says something like, "You're kind of intense," or "You're not what I expected." Most men rush to soften themselves. They say something like, "I can be more chill," or "I didn't mean it like that." And that right there is a negotiation. A disciplined man responds with stillness. He says, "Yeah," in a natural tone with no explanation. He doesn't argue the label. He doesn't correct it. He remains still under observation, and this shows that he has strength. Let's talk about comparison tests. As attraction grows, comparisons appear. She says something like, "My ex used to do this differently," or "Other guys usually text more." Now, this isn't competition, it's a stability check. If you say, "I'm not like other guys," you fail. If you adjust your behavior immediately, you fail. A disciplined man says, that worked for him, and he leaves it there. No defensiveness, no rivalry, no change in pace. Silence, believe it or not, is also a test. In fact, one of the deepest tests is silence. Conversation slows, she withdraws energy, she stops filling space. Now, most men panic. They begin to ask, "Is everything okay?" Or they'll ask her something like, "Did I do something wrong?" That response tells her you need her emotional regulation. A disciplined man, he does nothing. He stays present, he stays relaxed, and he stays unbothered. And when he does speak, it's natural. Not to fix the silence, but because it's time to speak. Silence tests pressure tolerance. Men who pass don't rush. Next up, we have cancellation tests. Now, this is a behavioral test. She texts you something like, "Hey, something came up, I can't make it tonight." If you guilt her, you fail. If you over-accommodate, you fail. The way that a disciplined man replies is, "No worries, we'll connect another time." Then he disengages. No immediate reschedule and no chasing because his time has weight. There are also relationship level tests. So in committed dynamics, the tests become more structural. She says something like, "Why do you always need to go to the gym?" Or, "Can't you just skip it and stay with me?" Now, this is not closeness. What it really is a boundary push. If you apologize and comply, respect erodes immediately. What a disciplined man says is, "I'm still going. We'll see each other later." He's calm, he's warm, and he's final about his boundaries. It's leadership without aggression. And what this actually does is it allows her to relax and feel safe around you because you have boundaries. So across all tests, there is a non-negotiable response frame. Every test really is handled the same way. You respond in a calm, grounded, and unreactive way. You're not passive, you're not combative, but you're present. The moment you react emotionally, the tests begin to escalate. So the more tests you fail, the more you will be tested. It's in your best interest to get them right, to pass them as soon as possible, because that will cause them to stop. And she tests you not because she wants drama, but because she senses that there's instability. One thing that I want you to remember is the walkaway principle. If you take nothing else from this video, just remember this one principle. The man with leverage is the man who can leave, not as a threat, not out loud, but internally. If you fear losing her, you will fail every test. As a general rule of thumb, if you're afraid to lose her, my friend, you already have. If you are complete without her, the tests lose their power. Now, this isn't arrogance, rather it's self-respect. So overall, women do not test to punish men. They test men to relax. When a man proves he can carry emotional weight without collapsing, the testing stops. If the tests never stop, the dynamic will never stabilize. And that right there tells you everything you need to know about whether to proceed with a relationship or not. This is Alpha Male Psychology. If you guys like this video, please go ahead and comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know what you'd like me to discuss and what concepts you'd like me to break down. Tell me about any problems that you're having that you'd like my help solving. Once again, Alpha Male Psychology. I will see you in the next one.